The check lay on the kitchen table, tucked inside a bank envelope, perfectly centered on the dusty wood like some kind of twisted gift. Outside, morning rain soaked the gravel, and my father's car tires were still steaming. I held the envelope in my hand while he said it. "Well, that's it, finally out from under. Sold the place for a good price, left you something, more than you put in, honestly." At first I didn't understand, but when I did, I couldn't breathe. He was talking about the house, Mum's house, my house. "You sold it?" He laughed, nervous, like someone who just stole something and is hoping you won't notice. "Come on, it was sitting there empty, just eating money, all legit, agency, signatures, appraisals." He waved his hand like he was clearing smoke, or lying. I set the envelope down, unopened. I didn't need to look. My head was buzzing, like someone had turned on every machine in the house at once, like someone was screaming in my ear, "You knew this was coming." He kept talking. "Look, I wanted to loop you in, but there's so much paperwork. You were always talking about trusts and contracts. I streamlined things. Don't be mad." I sat down, not because I wanted to, my legs just gave out. "You signed the papers, yourself?" He gave me this look, like I was being dense. "Of course, you did too. We talked about this a month ago. Or did you forget?" I stared at him, and in that moment, two things hit me hard. First, he didn't think he'd done anything wrong. Second, he forged my signature. My scalp tightened, memory fragments snapped into place, the way he'd asked me about property taxes, the night he stayed late in the house, looking for paperwork, the missing documents from the folder I kept in the attic. I stood up. He took a step back, not scared, more confused. "Listen," he said, "I did what's best for everyone. You've got your own life. That place, it was just bricks, just the past. I helped you let go." I moved past him to the cupboard, pulled out the red file folder. Still sealed. Inside, the trust agreement. My signature, legal insulation I put in place a year ago because I knew this day would come. He watched me, breathing hard, saying nothing. "You didn't sell the house," I said calmly, "because you don't own it." Silence, just the hum of the old refrigerator. "What?" I turned to him, laid the folder on the table. "It's in a trust. I'm the sole trustee. Any transaction without my approval is void. I warned you. A year ago, remember?" He said nothing. His face slackened. He looked old. For the first time, not like a father, just a man caught in a trap. And in that moment, standing in the stale air, the dust, his wet boot prints still marking the floor, I started to think about when it all began. I drove back to the house that night, didn't pack a bag, didn't tell anyone. Just turned off my phone and drove the 3 hours in silence, headlights slicing through the rain. The gravel crunched under the tires like bones when I pulled up. Everything looked the same. The porch light still worked on motion sensor. The front door still creaked the way Mom always hated. Inside, dust. Silence. The scent of cedar and old paper. No signs of him here. Not yet. I walked through each room, checking the windows, the locks. My heartbeat slowed once I saw the safe was untouched. Tucked behind the false panel in the hallway closet, documents, records, duplicates of everything in the red folder. Still here. And yet I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room until morning, watching shadows crawl across the floor, listening for noises that never came. At 7 a.m., I opened my laptop. The email from the law office was waiting. "We've received an alert of attempted title transfer. No legal transaction has been completed, but a claim was submitted under your name." Under my name. He didn't even hesitate. I stared at the screen, my hand hovering over the touchpad. For a second, I thought about deleting everything, burning it all down. Letting him have it, the house, the land, the debt that came with it. I was tired of cleaning up his messes. Tired of being the one who held it all together while he played the fool. But I didn't. Instead, I clicked on the alert, opened the attached scans. There, my signature. Sloppy, like someone copying from memory. The loop of the R was all wrong. I felt sick. A knock at the door snapped me back. I froze. Second knock. Then a voice, low, familiar. "Hey, You here? It was Drew. I opened the door slowly. He looked like hell, hoodie soaked, eyes red like he hadn't slept. He didn't wait for an invitation, just stepped inside and peeled off his jacket. You heard yet? He asked. I nodded. Yeah. He rubbed the back of his neck. Look, I didn't want to believe it, but he was bragging about it. At the VFW of all places, said he'd finally outsmarted the system, said you were too slow to stop him. I felt heat rise in my chest. He said that? Drew nodded, and more, said you didn't even know what was coming, that the house was never really yours. I sat down again. The weight in my chest hadn't lifted since the moment I saw that envelope. Why are you here? I asked. Drew looked at me like I'd just punched him. Because I figured you'd be doing what you always do, trying to handle this alone. He wasn't wrong. I saw what you put into this place, he said, softer now. Every weekend, every paycheck. You rebuilt it after she died. He was never here, and now he wants to flip it like a used car. I closed my eyes. He wasn't wrong about that either. For years I thought if I just did enough, patched the roof, fixed the wiring, kept the taxes up, I could hold the family together. That maybe if I worked hard enough, it would heal him too. That the house would anchor us. It didn't. Now it was the thing tearing us apart, and the worst part. I still felt the pull, the old reflex. To smooth things over, to forgive. But something had shifted. Drew, I said finally, do you still have that lawyer cousin? He blinked. Yeah, why? Because I'm done patching holes. I want to make sure this never happens again. And even as I said it, a memory hit me like a slap, 12 years old, standing in front of a debt collector on the porch, lying that Dad wasn't home, covering for him. That's when it started falling apart, and I'd been holding it up ever since. Drew's cousin, Rachel, met me 2 days later at a cafe near the courthouse. She was sharp, mid-30s, crisp blazer, eyes like a hawk. She didn't waste time. He forged your signature on a sale document, she said, scanning the folder I'd brought. That's felony fraud. If the buyer knew, they're complicit. If not, your father could be facing serious time. I didn't flinch. And the trust is airtight? She asked. I nodded. Filed it last year. County records confirm I'm sole trustee. No one can sell or transfer without my written approval. She leaned back. Good. That gives us leverage. Now the question is, do you want to go nuclear? I looked out the window. Rain again. It had been raining for days. I want it to stop, I said. I want him to stop pretending he owns what he never earned. I want to stop waking up wondering what fire I have to put out today. She nodded slowly. Then we start with a cease and desist. No further actions on the property. Then, fraud notice, asset freeze if necessary. We get the buyers to pull out before anything closes. And him? I asked. She gave me a long look. We don't have to destroy him, just corner him so tightly that he has no room to move. That night I sent the email. Dad, you tried to sell something that was never yours. The documents were forged. The trust is still active. I've filed a fraud notice with the county and contacted your agent. Any further action will result in prosecution. Do not contact me again. No greeting. No closing, just the facts. The next morning, 3 missed calls, then a voicemail. His voice, shaken, frantic. Hey, listen, there's a misunderstanding. We should talk. I didn't mean for this to... Just call me, okay? I didn't, but I did call his real estate agent. She sounded nervous the moment I gave my name. I was told everything was cleared, she stammered, that you had signed off. Check the trust records, I said. You'll see you've been lied to. Silence. Then, we'll terminate the listing immediately. One domino down. I kept moving. I went through every document, every receipt, every email. I catalogued my restoration expenses. Drew helped dig up photos, me rebuilding the porch, rewiring the attic, repainting the kitchen with Mom's old swatches. Everything I'd done to bring the house back to life. Not for resale, not for profit. For memory. For her. For me. The next day, Rachel sent a formal notice to his address. I knew the letterhead alone would freeze his blood. Legalese, threats, reality. Then silence, 3 days. 4. On the 5th day, he showed up. I was on the front steps, painting the trim. It had flaked again in the rain. Some things rot, no matter how hard you try to preserve them. He didn't walk up the steps, just stood at the edge of the driveway. "Really?" he said. "You're gonna sick lawyers on your own father." I kept painting. "You forged my name." He laughed, bitter, defensive. "I made a mistake. I panicked. You don't understand how much I owe." "I do understand," I said, turning to face him, "because I've been paying your debts since I was 13. That shut him up. "You think this is about money?" I asked. "It's not. It's about boundaries. And for once, you don't get to decide where they are." He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "After all I've done. You mean all I've covered up?" We stared at each other. For the first time, I didn't blink. And something shifted in his eyes. Not shame, not guilt. Just fear. The lawsuit landed harder than I expected. Not from me, from him. A week after our confrontation, I got served. A thin envelope, hand-delivered. Inside, a petition claiming I had mismanaged the trust, that he had verbal agreements, that I'd exploited his grief to seize the property. It was surreal. He was suing me. Rachel called me as soon as the documents hit the system. "He's going scorched earth," she said flatly. "He's trying to flip the narrative before you do." I laughed, not because it was funny, because it felt like something cracked in my chest. After everything, the debts, the nights I spent covering his tracks, the years rebuilding that house board by board, he was the victim. I didn't sleep that night, didn't eat the next day. Something in me collapsed. It came to a head 3 nights later. I was in the kitchen, lights off, sitting on the floor. I hadn't moved in hours. My phone buzzed once, Rachel, then again, then Drew. I didn't pick up. I kept staring at the fridge, its hum louder than usual, as if the house itself was straining to hold me up. When I finally stood, my legs buckled. I grabbed the counter to stay upright. My reflection in the microwave door, hollow eyes, stubble, shirt stained with paint, and something else I couldn't name. What if he wins? The thought hit like a punch. What if the court sides with him? What if they believe him? What if the house slips away, not through theft, but through process? I opened the file drawer, pulled out every photo, every invoice, every receipt I'd saved, spread them across the table. It looked like a crime scene, or a life dissected. Then I saw it, a picture of me covered in sawdust, standing in front of the newly rebuilt porch. Mum's wind chimes just visible in the corner, and right behind me, his shadow. Barely visible, but there. Leaning on the railing, smiling. My breath caught. He wasn't absent. He was there, watching, waiting. Waiting for me to fix everything so he could take it. I dropped the photo. My hands were shaking, and then I did something I hadn't done in 20 years. I cried. Not a few tears, I broke. I slid to the floor and let it hit me. The years of silence, of forced forgiveness, of pretending like he was trying when he never was. I thought of being 15, coming home to an empty fridge and a pile of overdue bills. Of lying to the school counselor about why I was always tired. Of fixing the furnace myself at 17 because he spent the heating money at a casino. Of watching Mom die and him walking away like grief was an excuse for abandonment. I thought I had put it behind me. I hadn't. The house creaked. Somewhere upstairs, the old pipes groaned, and I thought, maybe he's right. Maybe I am just obsessed. Maybe the house is just wood and brick and ghosts. Maybe I'm the one who needs saving. But no, that's what he wanted me to believe. He wanted me to question my reality, again. The photo still lay on the floor. I picked it up, this time looking at myself. At what I'd built, not him. Me. And I said it aloud, to no one. He doesn't get to take this from me. Not again, not ever. The next morning I woke up different. Still exhausted, but clear. Not about revenge, not even about justice. It was bigger now. Not just about him stealing from me, but about the lie that held our entire family together. That he was the victim. That he was harmless. That he meant well. He didn't. And I wasn't the only one he'd hurt. Rachel called. "I've been digging," she said. "You're not his first target." I sat up straighter. "What do you mean?" Credit cards in your mother's name, opened after she passed. A shell company that never filed taxes but received payments. Guess who signed the checks? I didn't answer. She went on, also, I spoke with the title office. He tried to push another document through last month, a deed transfer, backdated, with a forged notary seal. It wasn't desperation. It was strategy. He didn't just want to steal the house. He wanted to rewrite history, erase the fact that I'd ever been the one holding it all together. Rachel's voice hardened. We're not talking about a desperate man anymore. We're talking about a fraud with a pattern. Something in me shifted again. This wasn't a family dispute. It was a con. And I wasn't his son anymore, not in this equation. I was a threat to the story he was trying to sell. Can we go public with this? I asked. Legally. Rachel paused. Careful, this isn't just about facts now. It's about narrative. You want the truth heard, you need proof. And someone who can tell it. I thought for a second. I know someone, I said. The next day, I drove to a beige apartment complex outside town, buzzed the intercom. A voice answered, wary. It's me. I need your help. A pause. Then the door clicked open. My aunt stood in the hallway, Mom's sister. We hadn't spoken in 5 years. She looked older, thinner, but her eyes still had that sharpness, like she could see through whatever excuse I was about to offer. I thought you chose him, she said. I shook my head. I was wrong. She let me in. Inside, the air smelled like tea and mothballs. Photos lined the shelves, Mom as a teenager, me as a baby. None of him. I sat, told her everything, the forged documents, the lawsuit, the house, the fraud. When I finished, she was quiet. Then she said, he tried the same thing with me after your mother died. Said she'd wanted him to have the land. That it was in her will. There was no will. I nodded. I didn't fight it, she said. Didn't want to make it harder for you. My throat tightened. I need someone to testify, I said, to show this isn't new, that this is what he does. She nodded without hesitation. I'll do it. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about protecting a house. It was about telling the truth out loud for the first time in years. Not to punish him, but to stop pretending, to stop hiding what he really was behind the word family. Back home, I printed every document, scanned every photo, labeled every receipt. Drew helped organize them. Rachel drafted the motion to dismiss his countersuit and file a claim of breach of fiduciary duty. The conflict had changed, no longer father and son. Now, plaintiff and defendant. I wasn't in his shadow anymore. I was building the case to drag it into the light. The town's harvest dinner was held every October in the old church basement, plastic tables, crock pots, awkward conversations. I hadn't gone in years. But that Saturday, I showed up with a folder under my arm and Drew at my side. He looked around, muttered, You sure about this? No, I said, but it's time. Inside, familiar faces turned, neighbors, teachers, people who'd sent casseroles after Mom died, and him. He was near the coffee urn, holding court like nothing had happened. He always knew how to fill a room with his version of the truth. Be polite, Drew said under his breath, but don't flinch. I didn't. We moved through the crowd, stopping near a table where Mrs. Elkins, Mom's old friend, sat with 2 others. I placed the folder down gently. She smiled. Well, look what the wind dragged in. Evening, I said. Just wanted to share something about the house. She raised an eyebrow. Oh? I opened the folder. Inside, photos, documents, affidavits. I pointed to one page. Trust deed. Filed last year. Legally protects the house from unauthorized sale. Mrs. Elkins blinked. You mean? I nodded. He forged my signature, tried to sell it out from under me. It didn't work. A sharp inhale from the woman beside her. I left the folder with them. Across the room, he noticed, saw the shift, the whispers. He approached 10 minutes later, smile tight. Really? He said, voice low. You're airing laundry in front of them? This isn't laundry, I said. It's a correction. He glanced at Drew. You brought backup. Drew stepped forward. Someone's got to carry the truth when you drop it. People were watching now, not overtly, but heads were tilted, ears turned. He hissed, You think this makes you strong? Dragging family into the mud. No, I said. Standing up to you does. His jaw twitched. For a second I saw it, the unraveling, the mask slipping. Then he turned and walked out. But not before brushing past Mrs. Elkins and seeing the folder in her lap. That night, Drew and I went through the final pieces, not just legal defense, but testimony. My aunt had already sent her signed statement. Rachel drafted a letter to the state bar about the forged notary. It was ready. I'd stopped reacting. Now I was executing. A week later, Rachel called. Her voice was calm, but beneath it, tension. He hired a new attorney. They're asking for settlement. I blinked. They want to negotiate. They want out before this becomes public record. I looked at the house, golden light through the windows, wind chimes tapping softly. He doesn't get to walk away clean. Rachel paused. Then we go all the way. I nodded, because this wasn't about ruining him, it was about ending the cycle, for good. The hearing was set for Monday morning. Small claims court, but the room felt heavier than any courtroom I'd ever seen on TV. Beige walls, humming lights, the low murmur of folding chairs and cheap suits. But beneath it all, tension like a wire stretched too tight. He was already there when I walked in. Grey suit, too big, hair combed flat. That same disarming smile, the one he used to talk his way out of everything. Rachel sat beside me, crisp and steady. Drew was behind us, my aunt too. He looked back, saw us all. His smile cracked just slightly. The judge entered. We stood. Then it began. Rachel led with precision, trust documents, signed and filed, timeline of ownership, evidence of the attempted sale, the forged signature, the fake notary seal, then the testimony. My aunt stood and spoke, clear and unwavering. The way he used grief like a tool, how he tried to corner her too. Then it was me. I stood, holding the photo of the house, the one with the porch, the one with his shadow. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't cry, I just told the truth. He didn't build this house, he didn't protect it. I did, and when he realized he couldn't control it anymore, he tried to steal it. Rachel handed the judge the photo, then silence. He didn't testify. His lawyer advised against it. But when it was over and we stepped into the hallway, he followed me. "Congratulations," he muttered. "You won." I turned to him. He looked small. "It wasn't about winning." He laughed, bitter. "Then what? Revenge? Pride?" "No," I said. "It was about ending it." He looked around, no one standing with him, no one waiting to hear his side. Just him. For the first time, I think he understood what he'd lost. Not the house, not the money. Me. And he couldn't charm his way back. "You could have just talked to me," he said. "I did," I said quietly. "My whole life." I walked past him, out into the sunlight. Behind me, I heard him call my name once. I didn't turn. I didn't have to. He wasn't my problem anymore. That evening, the house was quiet. I moved through each room slowly, not as a soldier defending territory, but as a man returning home. In the living room, I hung the photo on the wall, the porch, the chimes, my silhouette. But this time I cropped his shadow out. Let the silence hold. Then I locked the door. From the inside, the key hangs in a black frame by the door, next to the trust papers sealed behind glass. I didn't put it there to remember the fight. I put it there so I wouldn't forget who I am without it. Outside, wind moves through the trees, steady and clean. The porch light flickers on at dusk. Not because someone's coming, but because this is home now. Mine, on my terms. I don't wait for footsteps. I don't listen for engines. And if he comes back, I won't open the door.